Who is the funniest comedian of all time?
I would say Pryor Carlin.
Right on. And what do you, why would you say them?
I think I think Carlin was the quintessential truth teller and unapologetically made people face it, you know. Whether they liked it or not, he was gonna tell it to you, and it was pure facts he was spitting all the time. Um, and I think that Pryor did a really good job of talking about not just like the uglies of the world, but of his own life experience. Because a lot of times it's so much easier for us to talk about the price of eggs than what's on our heart or our like past traumas or experiences. And I think the way that he was able to bring that to stage and do it with like characters and act outs and just he really utilized the toolbox and was super vulnerable on stage. So yeah, I would say that that would be my top two. I don't know if I can pick between the two, but those would be
No,
my top two.
those are also my top two. And you know what the beautiful thing is about both of those guys is they came up at the same time period. They both were clean, and then when all this stuff happened, this civil rights, Vietnam, that whole cluster of that time period, and it changed them, right? And it made them both more edgy, hippie, and all that. And one was more introspective, like you said about Pryor, and more about his own personal experiences when he's Mudbone or himself as Richard, and the trials and tribulations of being a black man in that time period and what he's going through, and really brought it to light to everybody, to the world, to all America. Um, and then you got Carlin, who, like you said, it was an observational guy. He was more outward. You never knew anything about him, but you knew his philosophies. And I
Right,
think that's why there's such a great yin and yang, and no one could choose between them, is because they weren't two guys doing the same thing. They were
right.
doing two different things. But man, it's beautiful when you think about it, and the difference that comics and comedy can make on a culture. And when you look back at, sorry, I get deep with comedy sometimes, but when you look back at when you look back at, like, from the 50s with Lenny Bruce and Mort Saul and Dick Gregory, and we need comedians. We always did. That's why now that they're so important. We need these guys, these truth tellers, these, whether it's Chappelle or Burr or Chris Rock, or we need them now more than ever, because we're in a weird place, and there's a lot of it's not even diversity anymore. It's lines. You cannot cross this line, and now we need those barriers broken down. And not to get too deep on this, but I
No,
think
that was great.
I think
No,
comedy,
absolutely.
yeah.